So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. So rather do a news of the week episode as I always do on a Wednesday afternoon, I'm not going to do it this week. And the reason why I'm not going to do it this week is there hasn't really been a lot of news to talk about, and most of the news that I was going to make a news of the week episode will be about the whole COVID-19 pandemic. And I feel like it's kind of getting old in terms of talking about that almost every single week, and that I feel like I need to do a video where let's actually not mention anything about the whole COVID-19 pandemic, and that this is actually something that has been talked about for a very long time now, and it have just recently rambling back onto the surface. And no, this is not the whole U.S. Development Academy that is ceased to exist that was announced back last Thursday. I might potentially make a video about how what's U.S. Soccer going to do with the whole Development Academy situation, and are they going to replace with a new one. I need to obviously do a little bit more research in terms of how the Development Academy now being ceased to exist, because that is kind of like one field of the area in U.S. soccer that I don't really have a lot of knowledge to, and I feel like I need to have a little bit more knowledge before actually making a video. But as I said, that is something that I'm not going to be talking about in this video, but rather I am once again going to bring up the topic about MLS and Liga MX merger, and that potentially in the future we are going to have a North American Superliga. And by the way, I am wearing Atlanta United because Atlanta United was the last MLS team to able to beat a Liga MX team in a major competition final. Well, depending on if you classify the Communist Cup as a major competition final. I mean, I'm pretty sure Atlanta fans said that it is, because they were the first MLS team to win Communist Cup, and they were able to beat the most successful team in Liga MX in Club America to win that Communist Cup. So yeah, we'll just say that it was a major competition, and it was a major achievement, and kind of in the history books of Atlanta become one of the few MLS teams to able to beat a Liga MX side in a competition final. But, you know, going to kind of talk about this whole North America Super League merger between Liga MX and MLS, I think it's kind of worthy to give you guys a little bit background of how we actually got to this point where they're still kind of rambling about it. I mean, this week, the whole rambling about this league potentially happening in the future, and that Liga MX and MLS potentially is going to merge in the future, all started when Liga MX basically said that we are not going to have promotion and relegation that's going to be happening in the next 5 years, which obviously pissed off a lot of second division team in Mexico. And I think there were a couple of people that were kind of misunderstand of why exactly Liga MX decided to do. I think a lot of people first misunderstand, thinking that, oh, this is probably the reason why now Liga MX is trying to really force the issue of potentially creating a merger to MLS. Although I have heard the real reason why they decided to do that is because they want to kind of have a closed system just like MLS, and that they want to kind of almost be like MLS, except kind of keeping some of the rules where they of course will still have no salary cap like MLS. And you know, I can imagine if Liga MX, if they have a salary cap, how there's going to be a ton of Mexican team that is going to be very angry the fact that they are going to do that. Like, I heard that some Mexican team are already pissed off about how there's going to be no promotion and relegation. Imagine how pissed off they would even be when if Liga MX is literally going to copy what MLS is going to do, which is have a salary cap in terms of their league. And now you can't you're restricted in terms of the amount of money you spend on players overseas, or players that you of course get in the league. But as I said, going back to the whole Superliga situation, you know, that's kind of how the news kind of started to rambling, and again, it really kind of started because of a little bit of a misunderstanding. But really, this is something that's been talked about for the last 10 to 15 years now. I remember back in the mid 2000s when, I'm not quite sure if this is totally correct, but I believe the Superliga was actually the first competition where MLS team and Liga MX team were actually facing each other in a competitive match and not in a friendly. Now, eventually that competition would dissolve in 2010, and I guess that competition wasn't really a competition where we were thinking about potentially Liga MX and MLS team going to merge each other, but more like who exactly is the better league in North America. Now, as time goes on in the last couple of years, you can definitely start to see some more evidence that we are once again having that question again, where which league exactly is better, because recently we had the Communist Cup, which is the best team in MLS, or the team that win MLS Cup the previous year will now face against the Mexican team that was able to win the Communist kind of competition in July. And then we also just recently have the League Cup last year, where basically it's kind of a revival of the Superliga, where you have a bunch of MLS team put into this competition with Liga MX team, and we will see who exactly was able to win that competition. And this year, the All-Star game, it's basically now MLS versus Liga MX All-Star, which is something that a lot of fans has been wanted to see. And it's such a shame, the fact that because we have this whole pandemic, and of course I know I wasn't going to mention anything about it, but this is probably the only time I will mention the whole pandemic situation that we're in. But, it's such a shame that we're in this pandemic, that maybe that game might actually not happen this season, or it might be postponed until probably late in the winter time of this season, whenever MLS decided to restart. But yeah, there's always this talk of who exactly is the better league, but then eventually things kind of transition in terms of, well, instead of maybe we talk about who exactly is the better league, why not we just basically decided to merge each other and just kind of create a Superliga in North America. Now, there's a lot of reason why some people think it's a bad idea, and for me, I have always said that it's not a great idea that Liga MX team and MLS team eventually merge to each other, mostly because, what is going to be the logistic like in that scenario? I mean, I can imagine the logistic could be just such a nightmare, with an MLS team potentially will be playing against a MLS team in the US. Then they're going to have to fly down to Mexico either on a midweek or next weekend on a road trip, and the logistic is just going to be incredibly insane, and just something I don't think it's going to be very realistic that is going to meet. But the other reason why I never liked the whole Liga MX and MLS merger is I'm kind of like a traditionalist, where you shouldn't be seeing a situation where two different leagues from two different countries should be merged to each other to create a Super League. Now, I know in Europe there's also been talk that this could potentially happen, and a lot of that talk is the whole Champions League situation, where they're also thinking about creating their own Super League in that situation, where the best team around Europe competes in a UEFA Champions League kind of competition, and a lot of fans have already been against it, and hence that's why there hasn't really been a lot of discussion into this, which is why I feel like it's, for me, I'm kind of like one of those people where, again, I feel like this just doesn't make sense, with the way that we shouldn't be having like two league from two different countries that should just merge each other to form a Super League, and that we should just have it the way it is, where MLS should just be MLS and Liga MX should be Liga MX. Now, probably the biggest reason why a lot of fans want to see this is popularity, but most importantly, money, because both team or both league feel like if they merge to each other, they would earn much more money than they are separately together, which it makes sense. I mean, if both league decide to merge each other, they of course are going to get the same amount of money, and that I think there's going to be more people that is going to be fascinated if both league decide to merge each other, and there might also be more games that is going to be playing throughout the season, because I heard they said that potentially this whole North America Super League, you're going to have a 50-team league where there's going to be 20 MLS team or 30 MLS team and 20 Liga MX team. And they might say that they could potentially have like a 38 game season, which means that there's going to be more money earned now with how there's going to be more games than ever before. So that's one of the big reasons why money is that is one of the reasons why it's going to bring in a lot of money. But the other reason, as I mentioned, is maybe the popularity is going to skyrocket and people will be very interested to see this league. Now, in terms of the whole format of how the Superliga has worked, I have read a couple of articles on different websites, and most of them have mentioned the whole MLB kind of situation where, you know how in MLB they decided to have the American League and the National League, and that they're thinking that this whole Superliga is going to follow that same situation where you're going to have the American League, which is basically the MLS team, and the National League, that is going to be the Liga MX team, and you're going to have eventually a couple of time where there's going to be some interleague action that both of these teams is going to play, which I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, when you have two separate leagues like that, both of these leagues, when playoff does happen, they of course would have their separate playoff before the winner of that specific league will be facing against each other in a final, which I don't even know what it's going to be called. I'm guessing it's going to be called like a North American Super League Cup or something, where an MLS team will definitely face a Liga MX team in a final. Now, the other thing about that whole format is that, does that also mean that we are going to now see more division in terms of a Superliga? Because there's no way in the world you're going to have a system where there's only going to be two conference or two different league, where the National League is just one separate standing, and the American League, or in this case Liga MX team playing in each other, are going to have their own conference. I'm assuming most likely they're going to divide up into division or divide it into conference, where, for MLS team that is in the so-called National League is going to have like the Western Conference or Eastern Conference, or even maybe divide into just individual division. And Liga MX team are also going to have kind of like a Western Conference and Eastern Conference style, although I'm assuming their kind of way is maybe divided by Northern and Southern Conference, because most of the team, unlike in the US where it's kind of from left to right, most of the Liga MX team, when you look at the location, are usually from the top, which is the northern part of Mexico, to the southern part of Mexico. So yeah, I mean, there's that kind of format that I have heard that potentially is going to be the actual format of this North America Super League. But either way, whatever the format is going to be, and whatever the whole situation of whether or not if we're actually going to get this, I mean, let me know in the comments below in terms of whether or not do you think a North America Super League is going to happen. Like, I hope that it won't happen. Like, I'm still in terms of the stance of whether or not if I want to have a North America Super League, I still feel like I don't want to see that, because I'm a traditionalist. I want to see MLS and Liga MX just be a separate league. And if you're going to have a competition between both of these leagues, you can have the competition like the League Cup or the Confederations Cup, where both of these team or both of these league would send a couple of their team to represent in this competition, and we'll see who of course will potentially come out as the winner of that tournament. But I just don't want to kind of see where we're going to have a situation where in a season we're going to have Liga MX team and MLS team face off against each other. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this whole situation? I mean, this is a very tricky topic to talk about, and I think throughout the next couple of years we're going to continue to have this discussion, and it's just going to get to a point where either we're going to get to a point where we're getting pretty close to potentially making this whole North America Super League to be a reality, or we're just going to continue to have this endless discussion, and that things are eventually not going to work out. Although the other thing that I also want to talk about in terms of the North American Super League, before I actually was about to say that is the end of the video, but there actually is one more thing that I want to mention before I, of course, conclude this video. Is there's another format that they've been thinking about where potentially they might introduce promotion and relegation in this North American Super League. And no, unfortunately, if you are a traditionalist promotion and relegation where you want to see like MLS team and USL team to have promotion relegation, this is not how the promotion and relegation is going to work in their proposed kind of promotion and relegation system. They're thinking that eventually we're going to have two separate league, and that, you know, the top league will feature 25 teams and the bottom league will also feature 25 teams, and you know, the bottom 3 team of each league potentially get relegated, or if it's like the division cases, maybe the last place team in each division of their league will get relegated into the second division of this North American Super League. And I think that would also be a good idea, because at least that way, even though I know these teams would potentially get relegated into the second division, they can't really go any lower than that, and I feel like that division is still going to kind of earn the same amount of money, if not maybe a little bit less money than the top division would make, because you're still going to get, at the end of the day, you're still going to get all these teams that used to belong in the first division, and you're still going to get fans that are willing to watch all these teams that used to be in the first division, but now they're just kind of break up into 2 separate divisions. So yeah, there's that kind of format that they're thinking about, alongside with the whole baseball system format, where they potentially could split into two different sort of league, and they can have like interleague matchup during the season. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of it, and that I won't be surprised in the future I'll make another video about this, because this is going to be something that we're going to talk about pretty much for the rest of my life, until this potentially could be a reality. And when it does become a reality, I will also talk about what are the potential format that they might actually think about doing with this new whole North America Super League. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.